critics of Catholic integralism, right, when you actually believe that the state should draw from faith and it should draw from a higher place and be informed by something, will say that that leads to authoritarian impulses. I think you could argue, going back throughout America's time existing, there have been times where the government was more authoritarian than not and expressed sort of value judgments. Do you think it is an accurate characterization that you would like to see the government use more authority over the way people live their lives? And does that make you an authoritarian?
So in the abstract, yes. I would not like this government exercising more authority over my life.
Isn't that the problem? Like, because it's always changing every 4 years, like it just never stops.
Well, it's actually staffed, I think. I mean, one of the problems that conservatives of all stripes take issue with is that the government is actually run by people who don't change from administration to administration. They're permanent, entrenched bureaucrats. I mean, I think at the height of the Trump administration, almost half of the people in the executive branch were still registered Democrats. So the problem is, to a certain extent, it is the people. Now, there is an insight in the fact that, if you expand government, eventually those new government powers will probably be run by people who disagree with you. But it's also true that our government is not being conducted the way that it's supposed to, and it is staffed by people who are the wrong people for any number of reasons. And a large part of the conservative project has to be cognizant of that, rather than just kind of recoiling at the idea of ever using the government, understanding that there is a difference between, sort of credentialed bureaucrats ruling over our lives and people who actually have an understanding of the principles of the American founding.
Right. I mean, the simple answer is we want a government that can legislate for the good, that can legislate a substantive vision of morality and make life better for ordinary Americans and create a social order that points the people under this government towards their ultimate end. But we can't just act on that desire immediately. We have to create the governmental landscape and the political landscape in which we can actually have a hope of achieving that end. So there's hard work to be done to, address these institutional problems before we can actually, achieve the integralist society that certain people, maybe me, would like to see come about.
I mean, it does seem, though, like you kind of are wishing for a thing which is not going to happen. Like, we're just a rapidly secularizing society. I happen to think that it's a bad thing, and I don't like it, but it is what's happening. So how do you actually reform the society and drag people back forcibly towards what you would like to see, with an acknowledgement, like you said, like, I don't want this administration to do it, but this is what's constantly happening. The way that this system, this country is set up is not workable to the kind of vision that I think you have, or am I wrong?
Right. I mean, a lot of it, I think, on the fundamental level, gets down to the material world in which we live. It's a question of political economy in a lot of ways. People are not able to live the kind of lives that are going to enable them to pursue ultimate ends. So I think the most concrete and achievable way under this current government that we can move towards a more humane and a more properly ordered political order is by simply using the government to create the material environment in which people can live productive, meaningful, and independent lives. Because only in those circumstances are people free to turn their attention to higher goods.